On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most inspired visionaries on the planet in lighthearted, lively dialogue. Join us as we explore the expansive nature of reality in a down-to-earth way, offering you insights and tools, empowering you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Now, here's your host, Christine Upchurch.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Christine Upchurch Show, where we have stellar conversations to illuminate your journey. I am sort of in the Seattle area today, and it's a bit sunny here. You may be listening in the Seattle area on KKNW AM 1150. You might be listening in Connecticut, Rhode Island, or New York on WBLQ AM 1230, anywhere around the world on Transformation Talk Radio, through the Internet. But wherever you're listening from today, you're going to be glad you joined us, because today we've got one of my all-time favorite guests back today to talk about something that I think is important for every single individual, no matter your age, no matter your stage, no matter how well you are along your path. You're going to be interested in this. But before I get into that, I want to say hello to my better half here in the studio, who allows you to hear these wonderful conversations, does his technological magic, Mr. Benny Mathers. Good morning, Benny.
Hey there, Christine. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing awesome, and I'm just looking forward to today's show. I don't even want to stop you.
You know, it's funny, Benny, because I went to celebrate your life last November down in Arizona, and I had actually never been before, and I had a couple of former colleagues saying, "We're going, please meet us down there." It was sort of spur-of-the-moment kind of thing. And Dr. Sue Morter was there, along with a whole bunch of other really bright lights. Like, you know, we're talking the transformational gurus of our time. And, you know, and she presented there and you know, along with all these other people. And then one night, it was like this dinner dance kind of thing. And there were, you know, all the speakers were up on stage. And they would pass the mic along. I forget what question was asked. And I was at this table with a number of other women, one of whom I knew and a bunch I didn't know. And every time Dr. Sue Morter spoke, it's like the hair on the arms of people were kind of like standing up, kind of like, wow, there's something really amazing here. And I had a couple people turn to me and say, "Do you know who she is?" I was like, "Yes, I do.
Do I know who she is, right?
Yes, she grounds this high-frequency vibration and speaks with such wisdom and power, and we've got her on the show today. She is an international speaker. She's a master of bioenergetic medicine. She is a quantum field visionary, and she likes to approach things looking at ways to embody high-frequency vibration energy patterns so that our human potential can be activated more fully. She teaches energy codes in seminars and retreats. She does Journey Awake excursions and her Body Awake video series. And she illuminates the relationship between the quantum thoughts and energy medicine and how to shift human consciousness so that we can step into life mastery. Oh my goodness, she's nationally published. She's been on professional licensing boards. She's a member of the Transformational Leadership Council, and on and on and on. And she has a private practice there at the Morter Health Center, and she is the founder and visionary of the Morter Institute, which is committed to teaching individuals self-healing techniques and a new approach to life based on quantum science. I'd like to welcome our guest today, Dr. Sue Morter. Hi, Sue.
Well, hello. It's a great pleasure to be here, and what an introduction. I'm going to have to think of something fancy to say today.
I don't know. You know, if it's just gibberish between us and it's the high frequency enough, then people are going to get what they need to get.
Right.
You know, one of the things I love about what you teach and your approach is you're like on our show we talk about how it's the cutting edge of the new mainstream. And you really are there with looking at things from an energetic perspective. And it's getting to the mainstream, including with Dr. Oz. why is it important at this stage of our evolution to be looking at things from the energetic perspective?
Well, energy is really the foundation of everything in all of our physical world, all of creation. Physical matter is just compressed energy. If you compress energy and compress it enough, you create the chair you're sitting in or the desk you're sitting in, the car you're driving, or whatever it may be. It's just energy compressed. And so what science and health have recognized is that the application of this is profound when it comes to us being able to self-heal and to transform our lives and to shift out of lower vibrational frequencies that generate low-frequency emotions, depressions, fears, anxieties, etc., and to shift them into possibility and higher frequency energies such as, dreaming our dreams and stepping forward and actually moving past procrastination and physically healing ourselves. So what Dr. Oz was saying in this past year is that the medicine of the future, the healthcare of the future is going to be focused on harnessing this energy and really learning how to masterfully move it differently in our lives. So, the application is it affects everything. So if we can learn to move and shift the energy of our own personal system in the world, then our personal system is going to it's going to self-heal, and it's going to be self-illuminating. And what happens is our lives they turn into a different version of ourselves. So there's really no aspect of our lives that isn't affected when we start thinking in terms of the basic, foundational, raw energy underneath everything. It's like if somebody says something to you, but the way they say it just gives you kind of a, I don't know about that. It didn't feel quite real or true to them.
Right.
That was the energy that we were sensing.
Yes.
And conversely, you might meet someone, and before you even really know them, there's just something that you just dig. You just like it.
Right.
You just automatically have a resonance with them. And that's because we're sensing the energy field, truly the movement of energy through their system, the quality of it, the way it moves, etc. So everyone's working with this. It's just a matter of learning how to work with it on purpose so that we have greater and greater outcomes in our lives in whatever arena we're interested in.
Right. And what I love about this is it's going beyond where energy medicine, so to speak, was for so many years, because it was all about what's referred to as energy healing. It was about healing a problem, releasing stagnation, releasing something that doesn't serve us, and yet you're going well beyond that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, that's the point, that if we get good at diagnosing, finding, and then fixing the problems or the stagnations or the interferences in our lives, we are improving our life experience.
Sure.
But we will only ever be good at finding and fixing problems. We don't necessarily build the neurocircuitry to operate as genuine creators and innovators and really the masters of our life experience. Really all we get better at is looking for problems that already exist and fixing them. So what I'm wanting people to do is not miss the magic of what we have in our hands, and in only utilizing it in a small fraction of what its capacity is.
Right. So, you talk about implementing changes in our vibrational field, our patterns. Do you need a device to do that?
The beauty of the work that I teach is that it's not about a machine or a device on the outside of the body. It's about using your mind and your heart and your deep gut feeling wisdom and connecting them up with each other so that they become lucidly empowered in your life. Many factions of energy medicine over the past decades have been about using machines and using devices that change our frequency. But again, in the longest run, that doesn't necessarily build our own neurocircuitry in the brain, patterns that allow us to ignite and access our own deep wisdom ourselves. Right. Oftentimes, those external devices can help get us in the neighborhood, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, we have to get on the bicycle and ride it ourselves, right? We have we have to do this, not just think about it, not have it described to us, not have it done for us, but to learn how to do it ourselves. It's like if somebody was trying to show you how to do something on the computer. It's much easier once you try to do it yourself a few times, much different than having to have someone do it for you every time you need that job done.
Right, and that makes perfect sense, too, because we're the only ones who know really where we want to go on that bicycle.
Right, and it needs to be free to express, that the deep truth within us can only be felt and known by us and interpreted by us. We just have to learn how to interpret that wisdom that is rising in us all the time. Right. But our culture has really driven our attention to the outer world in the whole of our lives. We've been externally motivated, externally driven, and then being pushed to keep up or to meet the Joneses and the expectations, etc. And ultimately, for peace and harmony to exist in any culture and any individual within that culture, we ultimately need to learn to listen more effectively, more profoundly to that rising evolutionary impulse that is within each of us, trying to express in its own unique way. So when we're busy with our minds trying to fit in and be cookie-cutter approached like our neighbors to the left and right, we're completely overriding that well of deep beauty that exists individually very uniquely. So this is about getting in touch with that.
Yes, and this is fabulous stuff, and we're going to have to go to a quick break, but when we return, Dr. Sue, I'm going to want you to talk about your energy codes and what those are and how people shift in your seminars and with your meditations. More with Dr. Sue Morter when we return here in a few moments.
Into your call inside, it's time to awaken. Into your call inside.
What is a brilliant culture? And how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you design a culture that is authentic, innovative, and successful. Learn how to create change with Cultural Brilliance Radio, the DNA of organizational excellence, and Claudette Rowley. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit ClaudetteRowley.com.
Are you sick of feeling overworked with no motivation? Take a break from the daily grind. Life coach Nicole Eisler is here to provide a healing journey of optimism. Passionate and caring, Nicole is no ordinary soul. Her dedication to helping everyone has no limit. Witness the power of positivity. Tune in every first and third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific for Positivity Party Radio with Nicole Eisler on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit BigDreamAwakening.com.
How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
Called the Oprah of radio by her listeners, award-winning host Dr. Pat Baccili is blowing the doors off of traditional talk radio. Get ready for an energizing delivery and powerful interviews with leaders in the field of human potential. Dr. Pat's fresh, new perspective on living life full out has catapulted her show to the top of talk radio. Tune in and Dr. Pat will help you thrive instead of merely survive. Visit thedrpatshow.com. That's THEDRPatshow.com for listening times in your area.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. Years ago, when facing cancer, without any immediate treatment options, I sought healing by making various life changes. For a while, I followed a very restrictive diet. I often found myself obsessing about which foods were good and which ones were bad. Then one day, I realized I was consuming foods based on fear of not getting well. But I didn't want to make choices out of fear anymore. I decided it was far better for my immune system if I allowed myself to experience the joy that came from, say, eating frozen yogurt, than it was for me to ingest the fear that came from avoiding it. Now, instead of choosing healthy habits based on fear, I try to make choices because they feel right and ultimately bring me joy and ease. How many of your healthy habits are really based on fear? Please visit stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. I'm having a conversation today with Dr. Sue Morter, who is the visionary behind the Morter Institute. She is an expert in energy medicine, and she is focusing on using the self-directed energetic shifting not only to get rid of certain problems that we have, but to help transform your lives. You know, Dr. Sue, before the break, we were talking about the importance of kind of like taking the reins, or basically, you know, riding our own bicycle, learning to shift within ourselves so that we stay on path and go beyond just getting rid of problems, but rather, you know, creating a new vision and stepping into a new reality. So you approach things with what you call energy codes. What are those?
Well, there are a variety of codified approaches that I've used with patients and with clients and with the participants in the many, many courses that I teach around the world when I travel and speak and so forth. And what I found over the years was there were certain things that if they were applied together, they created kind of a recipe within an individual that allowed them to become more masterful of the tendency for their minds to run away with them. You know, if an individual perhaps knows a few bits and pieces of a situation, but maybe there are parts of the scenario that we don't know yet, we have a tendency to fill in the blanks, and we can worst-case scenario. We can do all kinds of unnecessary processing with the mind, which uses a lot of our energy. And as we typically find out that most of our worrying and anticipating and as I said, worst-case scenarioing is kind of a waste of energy. It ends up turning out fine. It ends up things typically roll out differently than our minds can filter when they are fear-based and problem-solving. Right. And so I found that there were certain things that I could get crowds of people to do or individuals to do in combination with one another to allow themselves to learn to still the mind more rapidly, more quickly or efficiently, I should say. And when the mind slows down, it becomes more accessible to connect it with this deep wisdom that rises up from the core of our being. If you picture like the mind operating like a ceiling fan, a fan on the ceiling, and it's just rotating really fast. Let's say it's up on high.
And it's spewing dust all over the place.
Yes. So if someone would never stick their hand up through that fan, right? So what we want to do is slow the fan down so much that we could actually rise up through the mind with our consciousness, rise up through this rapid-moving mind, and really access a more expanded version of ourselves that's more free, kind of not being boxed in by our limiting beliefs and our rapid-fire mind that's trying to keep us safe all the time. Right. So the energy codes are ways to self-heal. They are ways to slow down the mind by using the mind and the body and the breath together in fashions that people in our culture aren't really used to, but they can easily learn to do. And when they do, they can have effects on all kinds of biofeedback in the body. They can shift their body chemistry. They can facilitate self-healing. They can access their creativity much more easily, etc. So there are many, many things that the energy codes do, and there are 7 main codes that I'm currently writing a book about that will be available about a year from now. That will give people the opportunity to study this in greater detail, But some of the things that we can easily talk about in this setting are some of the aspects of one of the codes, which is called the breath code, that we might be able to share with some listeners today some simple ideas to to allow them to start working with these ideas in the meantime.
That'd be great.
So any time we can slow our breath down, we're going to slow the mind down. And it's not to be concerned when we slow the mind down. It's not that you're going to think less effectively. In fact, you will think more profoundly. You will not be scattering the mind with so many inadvertent, incomplete thoughts in between the effective thoughts that we have. So by slowing your breath down, number one, we have a tremendous impact on just stabilizing the mind field, the electromagnetic energy field, and the bandwidth within that energy field that we call the thinking, the thought pattern, the thought field.
Right.
So in that, if we tether the mind to the body at the same time that we're slowing the breath, it has an even bigger effect. Mm-hmm. So if we breathe in the belly and not in the chest, of course, it's always going to affect the nervous system in a manner that allows us to move out of fight or flight and into more of a creative, replenishing, and healing mode. Breathing in the belly means when you inhale, you take a big breath in the belly gets big, but you're not moving the chest. And then when you exhale, the belly comes back toward the spine, and then we just repeat, continuing to breathe like with a big Buddha belly. Just the inhale, the belly gets big. The exhale, the belly comes back toward the spine. And
as I'm doing that, as you're talking about that, I'm noticing that there's a shift in my energy. I can feel a lot of stuff in my crown chakra. It's like the energy is moving more effectively.
Yes. It immediately starts to dial us into a different frequency, a different energy frequency, as we've been talking about high-frequency energies, et cetera.
Right.
So the crown chakra, the top of your head, will light up under these conditions instantly, and you know that immediately you're coming in touch with the frequencies of our own divinity, really, and we're already surpassing being limited by the thinking mind just by bringing these points together. So when we then tether ourselves deep in the body, even to a greater extent, it accentuates this even more. So there's an ancient Sanskrit term called mulabandha, and what it means is root lock. So it means to really tether or fasten oneself in at the root of the spine, deep in the pelvis. Right. And what the benefit of that is that it allows us to stay in our bodies instead of drifting up and living in our heads like we tend to do in our Western cultures. And so Mula Bandha is about squeezing the musculature at the base of the spine. So it's kind of like in the pelvic bowl, if you were contracting those muscles there. If the bladder was full and you were contracting the bladder to contain that, it would be those kind of muscles. Ladies, it's kind of like a Kegel exercise, and it's literally squeezing it a little bit and lifting it upward toward the heart, lifting upward toward the heart. What this action does, and this is a Vedic Eastern culture practice, what it does is it allows the mind field to be filtered down into these deeper frequencies of the body, and it gets us in the neighborhood of the deep wisdom center below the navel. So by doing so, we're putting more of our attention in the area of trusting one's gut. You know, when a gut feeling rises to your mind, it's because it got big enough that it could shoot all the way up from the gut, literally, up into the consciousness. Right. And so what we're doing is making a pathway easier to access so that information is constantly rising to our consciousness, not just every once in a while when it gets big enough to break through this busy ceiling fan, this busy, readily active mind.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you're talking so much about connecting the consciousness to the body, because I think what a lot of people, particularly sort of New Agers or some people in the consciousness movement, they've been focusing on transcending the body.
Transcending the body, yes.
Yeah. Originally, you're saying not to do that.
Right. Well, originally we needed to do that to recognize we're not just this person in a body confined to this physical realm and this physical body itself. That what consciousness, teachers of consciousness wanted people to understand is that you are so much more than this physical version of you.
Right.
And really, we get that in my working with the tens of thousands of people that I work with every year. I'm hearing people, they get that. We get that piece. But once we access these higher realms that meditation is inviting us into, and that the spirituality is encouraging us to not only believe in, but to begin to perceive, that perception becomes easier when we come back into the body with our consciousness and give it like we're giving it a place to land. We're of all the places that we could be in our consciousness, because we exist in every dimension that is. We've come to the third dimension, and we have generated a physical body, and we're living here in this life at this time. I believe our physical body has something to do with it. When we leave the body permanently, we're no longer in this dimension. So I became curious about the body's role in the embodiment of this high consciousness that everyone is pursuing through their meditations and their affirmations and their deep spiritual inquiry.
Right.
So it led me to discovering that we not only have to rise up above and beyond and transcend this physical dimension. Once we access that, we have to bring that reality back here into this body if we really want it to make a difference in the life that we're living here in this world. Right. Otherwise, it becomes duplicitous. We have this crazy, hectic life that's not integrated with this beautiful spiritual experience we can have during meditation or during a contemplative moment while sitting out on the beach or these quiet moments that we have within. We are meant to be able to interweave them all into one beautiful life experience and have it masterfully guide us through the everyday decisions that we're making and the jobs that we choose and the relationship communications that we have and our ability to self-heal. Yeah. Ultimately, we should have access to all of it all of the time. So these kinds of practices
I really do believe that
are making that possible.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I really do believe that we're at that stage where integration is essential for not only our individual lives, but that of our planet, the transformation of our planet, because without integration, we've got this duality that will continue to exist. This is a fascinating conversation with Dr. Sue Morter. We will have more in a few moments.
When it's time to go, the doors open.
Get into it for 2016. Do you want more prosperity, clarity, energy, and balance in your life? Join Lynn Brown now for one of her amazing workshops, each focusing on a key part of living your best life. For more information and to register for one of these amazing workshops, visit lynnbrownevent.com. That's lynnbrownevent.com. And get into it this 2016 with Lynn Brown.
On the cutting edge of the new mainstream, Christine Upchurch is passionate about bringing together science, psychology, and spirituality in a way that can be applied to our everyday lives for true transformation. The Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey, engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and Transformation Talk Radio.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
This is Peggy Snow, practitioner at Stellar Reflections, with a Stellar Reflections Minute. So many people these days are trying to find ways to relieve their stress. What happens to our breathing when we're feeling overwhelm and stress? When we tune in, we realize that we're either holding our breath or taking very shallow breath to signal the body that all is well, which most of the time it is. Sometimes all that is needed is a nice, deep breath to break the cycle. First, exhale to get all the stale air out by engaging the abdominal muscles and blowing gently. Next, take a nice full breath in, feeling it fill your body all the way down to your hips. Release fully and enjoy the freedom of movement. Notice how your body feels. Do you feel refreshed? Calmness is only a breath away. This has been a Stellar Reflections Minute. For more information about what we offer at Stellar Reflections, visit us at stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Are you sick of feeling overworked with no motivation? Take a break from the daily grind. Life coach Nicole Eisler is here to provide a healing journey of optimism. Passionate and caring, Nicole is no ordinary soul. Her dedication to helping everyone has no limit. Witness the power of positivity. Tune in every first and third Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific for Positivity Party Radio with Nicole Eisler on Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit BigDreamAwakening.com.
And when it's time to go, and you let go, you let go.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW, 35 stations in Australia, and Transformation Talk Radio. I'm having a wonderful conversation today with Dr. Sue Morter, and she is a master of bioenergetic medicine. But we're talking about the energetics that shift not only the physicality, not just about healing, but really about creating a new vision within our lives and embodying the high-frequency vibration. And I tell you, poor Benny, during the breaks, he's listening to us chat away. He doesn't get a word in edgewise. And then at the very end of the break, he's saying, "Are you guys ready to come back in?" It's like, no, because Dr. Sue has so many fascinating things to say, and it's just a joy to talk with you, Sue.
It's a delight to be here. It's such an amazing context that you set for your listeners, and I hope they know what an amazing gem they have in you, just because of your ability to extrapolate what matters most and zing it right into to the conversation. So thank you. It's my pleasure.
Well, speaking about what matters most, for myself, on my evolutionary path, former research statistician, got the early stages of cancer. Doctors had nothing to offer me. I healed myself. I transformed my life, and up going into, energy healing, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But one of the things that I've sort of come to understand is that it's not about releasing something so much as it is about stepping into our fullness, stepping into our quality of life. Mm. What is it that's going on right now in the world that is getting people uneasy? It seems like there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, my life's been working fine, I've been satisfied, and now something's off." And they might not have any kind of physical issue. They might not even be having a full-blown crisis, and yet there's this discomfort. Why?
Well, on the cutting edge of consciousness, there will always be discomfort because we're moving as high-frequency spirit beings into the density of a world unknown. So we're evolving. Everything, think of it this way, everything in all of creation is expanding. Human consciousness is expanding. So those of us that are consciously aware of the fact that we can be self-inspired, we can self-heal, we have some capacity to be in collaboration with our destiny. It's not just happening to us, that actually it's happening through us, and that we can steward this and steer it. What happens is that discomfort, I shouldn't say there will always be discomfort. There'll always be the opportunity for discomfort, and our job is to learn how to interpret what happens when that expansion of consciousness is occurring. That's what we're experiencing. Someone's going along, their life is fine, and all of a sudden they just kind of feel off.
So I just want to focus on this point for just one moment, too, because you're saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be discomfort. Can you give us an example of how somebody can shift from the discomfort or the pain of not wanting to transform into the ease associated with it?
Well, if we knew that on our way into this life, we requested certain aspects of our own wholeness to be refined in this lifetime, if we knew, like on a soulful contracts kind of way, if we talked about it from that analogy, we would recognize that whenever something is happening that's a little bit of a challenge in my life, if I could realize that I actually requested this challenge to occur so that I could grow myself in the face of it. So that if I look back over the biggest challenges in my life, I know that there were no other set of circumstances that could have caused me to grow like I grew through those situations than exactly those circumstances provided. So if it had been easier or different, I wouldn't have been challenged or had to reach inside myself and pull something up that I didn't even know was there until those circumstances created the pressure for me to have to do so. So when we meet up with discomfort in our lives, if we could immediately have the perspective of recognizing that, oh, this is just like I requested on the way in, then I start to embrace it and lean into it with curiosity and great adventure, knowing that big beings take on big projects when they come in, and that we never. Apparently, I'm huge. And
so am I.
Okay, got that, right? And we never request something that isn't exactly perfectly aligned with what our evolutionary step is needing next. It's never bigger than we can handle. So if we can even just change that perspective, that alone starts to help. Now, the other work that I do with the embodiment pieces and the breath works that I share with people, it makes it easier because we start working with the energy instead of trying to understand it intellectually. The mind has a hard time processing information that it just logically can't line up. And so oftentimes if we can just work with the energy underneath the story, we can allow the mind to it's kind of like we feel better and the mind is the last to know why. And we're okay with that.
Right. Yeah. So, you're talking about sort of releasing and transforming using energetics. So my question to you is, there are these big things that come up for us, and I've had numerous challenges in my life. And actually, I've been able to shift from sort of the victim perspective that I was stuck in for so many years about certain things and realize, oh, my goodness, these people showed up. And this soul contract, and they got to play this really crappy role. And I got to sort of transcend this, and they're still, buzzing around, at this lower vibration. What a gift they've given to me,
Right.
So, but do we have to actually process things on a psychological level, have the mind understand it, release the emotions in a very obvious way, or can it be different than that?
No, it can absolutely be different than that. In fact, that's what my work is 100% about. It is, if we think of it this way, miracles happen beyond logic. In fact, it's part of the definition, right? By definition, a miracle would not be what we were logically anticipating. It was something, miraculous, supernatural that happened. And so we recognize that things do happen in a nonlinear fashion, and we welcome them. In fact, we pray for a miracle all the time. So what we're doing is recognize, in that prayer, what we're doing is saying, please allow me to perceive the non-logical and abundant reality that exists apparently outside of my linear thinking. Right. So what I'm doing by getting people to come back into their bodies with their high frequency consciousness that they access in meditation, and I show people how to do that. But in the midst of that, what we're doing is saying, I'm going to work with energy itself versus working with the stories that I write about my life. And instead of dealing with the mind and the thoughts and the beliefs and the emotions that go with those thoughts and beliefs, I'm going to go even deeper than that and just work with the energy surge that happens in my body instead of naming that surge an emotional state and then trying to understand what that emotion means with my mind by assigning beliefs to it. So instead of doing all of that, I'm just going to go straight to the energy. When something surges up inside my body, when I'm in a situation, I'm going to squeeze that area of the body, for instance, that is surging in this moment, and I'm going to take a deep breath right through it, because all that's trying to happen is energy is trying to move through me. And when I name it, instead of just feeling it, I have a tendency to stop its flow. And when I stop its flow, I create problems for myself.
Yeah, that's such an important point, because instead of just allowing it, we stop the flow, because once we name it, and usually when we are apt to name it, it's when it's something that's not very pleasant in some sense.
Yes.
And so, it's like...
And then we have a whole thing we have to work through.
Yeah.
And if we never did any of that, we wouldn't have to work through it. We'd just be with the energy that's moving. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to control our environment so much, and that's what we were taught. And it's so important to realize that this is a good thing that's happening when that energy surges. If we don't stop it by naming it and just breathe with it and follow it, it's going to take us exactly the place that we're trying to evolve into. It's going to awaken us in the ways, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, in the ways that we so desire to awaken. But we're just going about it, the cart is before the horse kind of thing.
Right. And, I've just spent 5 days with a toddler, and it's fascinating to sort of watch their process, their emotional process, and it's like, it's big, and it's clear that they're moving energy one way or another, whether they're running around or getting, upset and crying out of frustration or tiredness. But one thing flows into the other so beautifully and magically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they just follow it, right? They feel like screaming out. They scream out. Now, I'm not really recommending that we do that in a conference room, in a meeting, just go for it. I don't mean that. There are some quiet and very sophisticated ways of working with this energy, and no one will ever have to know that you're doing it. But the beauty of it is that if we can learn, and we can, how to do that, then what ends up happening is we ignite our full potential. And that's what you started speaking about this time around, is that how do we step into the fullness of our being and not just try to problem fix and problem solve, but as we step into our fullness, we find ourselves living quite abundantly, quite beautifully, and quite peacefully and joyfully in a world that seems so chaotic. The same world seems just as chaotic, but we are different in it. And then we come up with ideas and thought processes and formulate relationships out in our communities that are settling and stabilizing on a larger and larger scale. I see this happen all the time with people that I'm working with. So it is about stepping into our fullness and this energy surging inside of us, and us learning to collaborate with it and allow it and not stop it by naming it and then having a story written around that, is what allows us to do that. It's showing us how to step into our fullness.
I love this. And, when we return after this next break, I'm going to tell you how you can connect with Dr. Sue. And also, she's got a couple of free gifts for you, so stay tuned.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. For centuries, spiritual traditions have talked about how humans have an energy field, or aura, surrounding them. Although skeptical scientists refuted this for decades, science is now beginning to catch up with spirituality. Scientists can actually measure light emanating from living beings, so they can measure the human aura, which in scientific terms is known as the biofield. Many medical practitioners around the world use an instrument to evaluate a patient's biofield for the purpose of diagnosing illness. They understand that imbalanced or insufficient light in a person's energy field indicates a physical or emotional problem. The good news? There are ways to balance and increase your light, resulting in greater well-being. For more information, please check out stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
Brand consultant and coach Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're a person with a dream and unsure where to start, or a CEO of a successful company wondering what's next, Jen Morgan and the RAD method empowers you to play to your strengths and focus your competitive edge so you can show up in the world as your most powerful brand. Go to jenmorgan.com or call 206-972-5366.
Would you like to experience life-transforming adventures in personal expansion and world service? If you do, tune in to learn about magical innate abilities that you can develop and use to make your dreams come true. Joy Elaine is author of the Joy Chronicles, and she's inviting you and millions of others to join her in working with galactic masters, angels, and the Ashtar Command as they assist humanity and planet Earth to achieve their ultimate destination of ascension. For more information about this upcoming event and broadcast, visit joyelaine.com. That's joy, ELAINE.com.
I'm Christine Upchurch, and this is a Stellar Reflections Minute. What does the word healing mean? Many think that healing merely means eliminating symptoms. However, based on my many years as a healer, I have a much broader perspective on the word. Healing can manifest in a variety of ways, including having physical problems resolved, becoming more emotionally centered, experiencing better relationships, gaining greater clarity, and feeling more spiritually connected. True healing always includes some level of transformation. Whatever form healing takes, there is one commonality, an improvement in quality of life. To me, the highest form of healing goes beyond aligning with wellness. It comes from recognizing our soul's voice and allowing it to speak through us. And in that sense, don't we all yearn to heal into our wholeness? Please visit stellarreflections.com or call 425-999-9836. That's 425-999-9836.
You are in these golden parts of me, flowing wild and free. We have not been the same since you came, and we won't ever be.
Welcome back to the Christine Upchurch Show here on KKNW and Transformation Talk Radio. You know, Sue, before the break, I promised people that I would give you the opportunity to talk about your website as well as the free gifts that you've got.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So the website is drsuemorter.com. So that's drsuemorter.com. So it's like Porter with an M, Morter. drsuemorter.com. And if you put a /Christine on that, there are some free gifts there for you. One is a recording of a master class, which I do. That every month I live stream a master class, and what we do on that is really fun because people ask all kinds of different questions from all different aspects of life, and I don't answer any of them. I translate them into pictures and put them on a big poster, and then I answer them all at once in one conversation, showing you that really there's only one thing happening in the whole of our lives, and it's actually in support of you unfolding into your own magnificence, into your fullness of being, as we've been talking about today. So It's a very fun way to engage in seeing that our questions are really tied into one big tapestry of life, no matter what the nature of the question is, and tying that together and landing it for everyone. There's also a meditation that I get so many requests for this meditation that I'm just starting to give this out as a gift as often as I can. But I specifically wanted to do it here, Christine, because it has a central channel focus of flow of energy through the body, which is kind of what we were talking about. Right. This one that I selected is similar to what we've been talking about breathing in the belly and breathing up and down through the body and tethering our energy in the body so that we don't drift up into our heads, etc. And so it's a meditation and an embodiment exercise that follows that. And then on that same slide, people can see a special offer for a support package for many of the principles that we have just barely touched on the surface of today. That will take you into some deep teaching and experience around these aspects of what we're talking about with the energy codes. Beautiful. And I have to tell everybody that as you were talking about that last piece of it, my crown chakra's going nuts. It's got to be really powerful. And I just love your work, and I love your teachings. And, you know, I really do believe that we're at a difficult and yet amazing shift on the planet right now. How do people who want to show up to help with the shift, to create a positive world, how do people do that? You know, one of the things I feel that we've been touching on a little bit today, relevant to our conversation and this question, I would say that the number one thing that we can do is to recognize that the whole of life is truly operating in our favor. And even though it looks like we're in such trouble on the surface of our planet, it is an invitation for us to awaken in ways that we have never had to before. And so, a big thing for me is, how do I take duality and bring it into unity? How do I make the either or and the good and the bad and the right and the wrong come together inside of my thoughts and my emotions and my actions in my life? And so I operate in both and instead of either or. How do I do this and that? How do I include this and that? How do I blend things together and just come from a place of unifying rather than separating and finding differences and so forth? The heart brings things together, and the mind's job is to see the differences in things. So obviously we have to operate more in a heart-based reality. And how do we do that out in the world to make a difference? And this embodiment idea is tremendous for us. When people learn to come into their hearts and into their bellies and breathe, they start thinking differently. And when they think differently, they are less likely to be unconscious about themselves, unconscious in their relationships, unconscious in their workplace or in their communities. And so it is, in the forefront of my focus is to get people to come into their bodies and learn how to be comfortable and how to be themselves, not learn to love themselves, but to be themselves, because they're made of love. Yeah. And so if we are being ourselves, we are a loving force on the planet. And if we're not allowing ourselves to be authentic and to be real and to be in a state of joy in this life, then we are, again, contributing to the duality, which is a part of the problem in our societies and in our cultures, that we're focusing in a disembodied state. We're angry, we're upset, we're fearful, and so crime goes up and divorce rates go up, and we're not taking care of our natural resources because of the fear and the greed that exists. But the statistics are phenomenal, that the impact that just a few individuals can have. If we have 7,000 people in any given region of the country operating in an embodied, coherent state, it has an impact on the mass consciousness. That's not that many people.
It's not. And there are so many people who are inspired to create positive, lasting change now.
Yes. And it is picking up momentum, and it can't not, because it is our destiny to awaken up through these ridiculous survival-oriented ways of being. When we look at the media and the messages are becoming so ridiculous, it actually wakes people up. Right. When the politics are crazy and the everything else, it gets crazy enough that everybody sits back and says, wait a second, something has to change here. And I believe that that's what we're experiencing, that the ridiculousness is the change happening. It's getting so crazy we can't not see it. Right. So we bring awareness in a roundabout way, but at least we're getting there.
I think of it as like a bad reality show. It's time to change the channel.
Right. And I really do feel that that's what is happening. That it looks so crazy that we can't. It's not going to be stuck on our face anymore. We're going to pull it off our face and take a look at it, and say, "Wow, this is." We have to operate differently. We have to choose differently. We have to vote differently. We have to action differently. It is. I believe it is serving something great, even though we're right in the middle of the throes of the growing pains.
Yes. So beautifully said. And Sue, this hour has flown by. Please remind people again how to find you on the internet.
Absolutely. That is www.drsuemorter.com, DRSUEMORTER.com, and then /Christine, and you'll get to some special things because of this amazing program that Christine has put together for everyone.
And I will have a link on the replay show on my website, ChristineUpchurch.com. Sue, it's always a joy to talk to you. I love your teachings. I love your energy. Thank you for doing what you're doing, and thanks for joining us here today.
Such a delight and an honor to be with you always.
Okay, and thank you for joining us here today. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
You've been listening to the Christine Upchurch Show, stellar conversations to illuminate your journey. Each week, this show engages some of the most outstanding visionaries on the planet in lively dialogue to inspire you to become that bright light you're meant to be. Join Christine every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time on KKNW, AM 1150, and TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information about the transformative healing work of Christine, visit www.stellarreflections.com. And for weekly topics, visit www.transformationtalkradio.com.